Okay, so the second fight I want to go over from episode 2 of Road to the Title Season 3 is the Isaac Guenther versus Riley Montoya fight. So this was a good fight. It was a good fight. It was an entertaining fight. Both guys fought hard. It was back and forth. And there was a bit of lack of experience shown at times, but I mean, understandably, like, first of all, these kids are two of the younger guys we've seen, and you got to remember that this is their first time competing in slap fighting for the most part. So, yeah, we've just been super spoiled thus far with these lightweights looking like they're polished. So, yeah, anyway, one thing I do want to say off the bat is I was very critical of Trujillo's coaching in my last fight, and I want to make sure I'm clear that this was a much better performance by him as a coach. I'm not sure how much time was in between those fights, but it was noticeable how different he was in this fight versus the Dakota fight. And so I wanted to get that out of the way because I will elaborate later on what he did well, but it's not like I'm a true Hio hater. So I mean, I stand by how firm I was on his coaching on the last one. But I'm not a Trujillo hater. I just call it how I see it. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. Some broad notes about the fight before we go into it. So this was so close, man. This was like, it's hard to explain how close this fight actually was. There was a foul in the third round that made it a lot easier to judge. But I mean, I didn't love the reffing in this fight, if I'm being honest. Not because there were like egregious miscalls. It was just a little bit inconsistent for me. And anytime there's such a close fight, like these inconsistent calls can really cost somebody the match. There's just, in a 3-round fight, there's just absolutely no margin for error. None. There really isn't. So, I mean, even with the foul called, there were just so many ways that this could have been scored and judged, and yeah, it was super close. But I didn't love the reffing in this fight, and I'll elaborate as we go. But anyway, so Isaac won the toss, and he was slapping first, and it was a good slap. It was a good slap. You can definitely tell that this kid has some power because it didn't even land right on the button, and it wobbled Riley. Riley took a few steps back and was caught by the catchers. Great job by them. And yeah, when they showed the slow replay of the slap, I mean, it was pretty high. Like, it didn't even land flush, so you can really tell that this kid has some power. I think that there was a trend in this fight as far as his strikes go, in that he was missing high consistently. He really was. And so that's just some aim. So that's very fixable. But yeah, anyway, so he landed a good slap. Riley was able to eat it. And I was just so impressed by how Riley was able to play the shit off like it was nothing, man. Like, you can't play off stumbling. I get that. But the second he was okay, he put his hands up and like, let's go, like he was just a showman. So that looks really good for the judges. And I think that, if that club isn't called in the third round, like if that club isn't called in the third round, I had him winning the fight. So, I mean, it was an impressive showing as far as, the ability to take slaps goes. So yeah, anyway, so then Riley comes back on his first slap, and it was a very good shot, man. It stumbled Isaac pretty bad. I was super impressed that it didn't knock Isaac down. He's very small for the weight class, in my opinion. I want to say he weighed in at like 150. Oh man, I wish I looked that up to confirm before I clicked record on this video. But anyway, I want to say he weighed in at like 150 pounds. So rather small for the weight class. And I mean, it stumbled him pretty bad, but the fact that he didn't go down was pretty impressive. One thing that I do want to note about Isaac's first recovery is that he put himself in jeopardy by trying to walk right away. After you take a strike, you want as little movement as possible. straight up. You want as little movement as possible until you are absolutely certain that you are okay. So you'll notice that he recovered and the ref was taking a good look at him. And then once he recovered and said, like, I'm okay, the ref was like, okay, you're good, and was going to let it go. And then instead of like taking the extra 1 or 2 seconds to just stand there and be calm, he tries to turn around and walk. And shout out to Turp for trying to get him not to do it. He tried to get him not to do it, but you have to understand, this kid got rocked, man. He just got socked in the face. So it's really hard to listen. But yeah, anyway, so he just turns around and starts walking, and you could see instantly that he was wobbly, and the ref went from being like, oh yeah, he's okay, to holy shit, maybe I'm wrong, you know, and he like followed him to make sure he didn't fall. So that was a bit of lack of experience shown by Isaac. But anyway, he was able to eat it. Very impressed with that. And so Isaac comes back on his second slap, and it was very powerful, and it stumbled Riley. It was more of the same. Like, he was just a little high on it. I think that if he had, like, he could have landed these slaps a little bit cleaner, and this could have gone much differently. Like, maybe even like highlight. Who knows? But yeah, the theme of missing a little bit high for Isaac continued in the second slap. It was very powerful, though. This kid has power. No two ways about it. This kid has power. I want to give Trujillo props here because one of the ways that I always say that coaching needs to be done is you need to be trying to induce the refs. That's just what coaching is, man. That's part of coaching. That's part of the job that you sign up for. So it was good by Trujillo. This time around, I was much happier with his performance. He tried to induce a clubbing foul, and at the very least, he was planting the seed. And to be honest with you, I think that he should have got the call on the next slap. Like, he did the right thing. He was planting the seed with the ref by saying, that was a club, that was a club, that was a club. Let's see what they have to say when they were like, and it was a little weird because they looked at the slow-mo replay, and I thought it was high. I thought that it could have been a club. I'm not saying that it was a club, but I thought that it was high and it could have been a club. So it was a little interesting that they stopped to look at the replay and then call it a clean blow. But anyway, Trujillo planted the seed, and I think that they should have got the call on the next one. But who knows? That could have just proved my point in that some strikers have a better relationship with the refs than others. I don't know if that's true or not, but you can't tell me it's not true yet. So yeah, anyway. I thought it was close, so I'm not mad that they didn't call anything. It's fine, but I was just saying that it did seem a little high, and kudos to Trujillo for trying to plant the seed and induce the clubbing call. And on Riley's second slap, it wasn't the best slap. It seemed like he was a little out of range. It wasn't a bad slap, but it just wasn't the best slap. It seemed like he could have landed a little more flush, and I was impressed by Isaac. He was just able to eat it, man. This kid has a chin, dude. He has a chin, and he is pretty small for the weight class. It was just so impressive how he was just able to eat these shots, even if he got knocked down. And even better, he wasn't afraid to take the slaps at all. Neither guy was. I was so impressed. I've been so impressed with these lightweights, man. They're just about that life, and they're not afraid to take slaps. And it's just very, very impressive because you see some strikers on the roster that get in there and look like when it's their time to take a slap, they look like they'd rather be anywhere in the world. And that just wasn't the case with these two. So again, super impressive by both guys. But yeah, Isaac was able to eat it. And then on Isaac's third slap, it had some power, but this is where it gets a little bit sticky because I thought that this could have been a club by Isaac. It was more of the same as I've been mentioning, in that he was just missing high, man. He was just a little off the mark, but it still had, some power. But Riley was able to eat it. And this is also where it gets a little tricky, like moving towards Riley's third slap. Like on Riley's third slap, they ended up calling a club on Riley. And like, I've watched this back numerous times, and like, I get it. It was close to being a club, but I even paused it right when it made contact, and like leading into the strike, you could see it, but it really did look like his hands straightened out by the time that it hit. And I have the screenshot, so maybe I'll post that on my Instagram and see what everybody thinks. I didn't love this clubbing call. And especially because Isaac's second two slaps, like his last two slaps, were both high, and I thought that you could have called either one of them. So it was a little weird that they called Riley for a club and then let both of Isaac's go. I have noticed that they're really trying to cut down on the fouls called, probably for the watchability of the sport, which is fine. It's just all about consistency, man. So I have noticed that, and I think you'll see as the season progresses, if it's close, they're probably going to tend to let it go, which is fine. But this would fall into that category for me. So it was a little frustrating, especially in such a close fight. Like, I think that there are just so many numerous ways that this fight could have went, even with the foul call. And I think that if that's not a foul, or like if they don't call a foul on Riley there, he definitely won that round and won the fight, in my opinion. So just a tough outcome for Riley. And you have to understand that there's levels to clubbing. So like, yes, there's clubbing, the stereotypical clubbing where it's like people think it could be a dangerous strike where you straight up lead with the palm and hit like outside of the target area. And I think that they ended up calling Riley because that was close to what this was, whereas Isaac's weren't dirty slaps. They were just good slaps that landed like outside of the range. You have to understand that that's still a club, you know? There's nothing that says that a club is only when you lead with like the palm. Like, yes, that is a bad club if you do that, but I mean, even a slap that's outside of the range is technically a club. So there's just levels to clubbing that you have to understand. And yeah, so it was a bit frustrating, and like it was a good fight. Like, if they call that, Isaac definitely wins that. Even if they don't call it, Isaac could have won that. It was just, there were just so many ways that it could have went. So here's all the scenarios it could have went, in my opinion. It really came down to the first round. So Isaac won the second round no matter what. Like, there's just no debate about it. Isaac won the second round. You could have said either guy won the first round. And it could not have been closer. I think it came down to the recovery of Riley, but again, you could have called it both ways. So there's a world where even if you don't call Riley in the third round, Isaac still wins round one and round two. There's a world where they still call Riley in the third round and it's a draw. Like, that's what I think it should have been. I think the fight, if you're going to keep the call, I think the fight should have been a draw, which I get it. They probably don't want that for reality TV and for the tournament, but you got to understand that, like, this is a match too. Like, these kids are fighting for contracts and shit. So I also think that it could have been like, if you didn't call it, Riley won rounds 1 and rounds 3. There were just so many ways that this could have went, and it could not have been a closer fight. Regardless, let me be very clear. There's a negative 10% chance that you don't see Riley again. Like, there's no shot in hell that you don't see Riley again. This kid was very impressive. It could not have been closer. Isaac, very impressive. It was super impressive to see, like, how he stacked up against kids that were older than him. You got to understand that this kid's only 21 years old, man. He's 21 years old. When I was 21, I was getting arrested doing dumb shit. This kid's fighting people on a reality show. Like, he's 21 and looks 18, but he fought like a grown-ass man. Dude. Both guys did. Very impressive. Very small glimpses of lack of experience, but I'm looking forward to seeing both guys in the future. There is no way you don't see Riley again, and I'm looking forward to seeing Isaac compete again. Both kids' chins are just absolutely certified with a warranty, money back guaranteed. And yeah, I just couldn't be more impressed with these lightweights, man. They are just about that life, dude. So So I'm gonna break down the third fight. It's gonna be a shorter video just because it was a shorter fight, but look out for that.